start with Ann. Ann, what have you seen outside the courthouse since that sentence came down?
I think a lot of people are just stunned, Eric. You know, whatever it was that people were anticipating, I think the range of emotions is wide. People are stunned, they're relieved, they're anguished, they're, you know, devastated. I think that's the most telling thing about this decision today and how quickly it came. Mark Stewart has been monitoring the courtroom as well with me, in and out of the courtroom since the beginning. Let's talk about what happens now for the shooter. What is next?
Sure. So there's actually a formal courtroom proceeding for sentencing. Even though this was announced, the judge has to formally sentence the gunman. That will take place on August 24th. It could last as many as 2 days. Some of the family members actually may have the ability to testify again, but again, this is a courtroom formality to sentence him. And then the gunman will actually be brought to Denver, to a special facility in Denver, to determine exactly where he is best suited to serve this life sentence. It will take account his physical needs as well as his mental health.
And we also have Marshal Zelliinger out here with us, and I think one of the what we've all been waiting for is to hear what the family members have had to say, what the victims have had to say, because he was in the courtroom. Marshal was inside that courtroom as this verdict was announced, and again, it was so quick that I think a lot of people didn't anticipate that the verdict would end up as it is. So, Marshal, tell us what you saw inside that courtroom.
Well, I was one row behind the defendant's parents and just a couple of seats to their right. And to start, they stood up when the judge asked the defendant to stand up. And I was going to watch their reaction first and then glance over to the family members of all the victims. And as soon as that first not unanimous verdict was read, Dad of the defendant had his arm around Mom's waist. She tilted her head to her left onto his shoulder, and she wept and knew that for the next 8 minutes she was going to hear that her son's life was going to be saved, albeit life in prison. On the other side, on the gallery side, even though the judge said everyone had to stay in once the verdict was started, you had to stay in through all 24 counts, someone that I believe was down the row from A.J. Boyd's family stormed out and went out the back door. Other victims, and I just want to read some of my notes. Ashley Mosier, head down, shaking her head. An Aurora police sergeant behind me, crying and bawling. Sandy Phillips bent over her head in her hands. Then she reached back with her hand and grabbed Josh Nolan, one of the survivors, who was also weeping and at one point just appeared stunned, staring, teary-eyed. So just an atmosphere inside that courtroom as though the family members of some of the victims are probably feeling re-victimized tonight, but we know some of the family members were okay with a sentence of life in prison, which was what was handed down by the jury not being able to come to a unanimous verdict.